Well, I mean, if you look at the history of Iraq and Saddam Hussein in Iraq, the Americans' fingerprints are all over that. Yeah. And it's interesting. I was actually reading a little bit about the history of America in Iraq not long ago. Hey, Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11. That's Osama bin Laden. You're confusing Saddam Hussein with Osama bin Laden. Very different dudes. Fundamentally different dudes. Okay. And now this video is going on YouTube, so that's going to be controversial. Here we go. Grade 10s, I know it's a short block last period Friday of a 5-day week, but I would love it if we could get through the short lesson that I have for you today so that I can free you to play with some stuff, and then you guys can ride off into the sunset that is Friday afternoon. So much. So let's get to it. So, yesterday, we looked at codominance when two phenotypes are fully seen. We looked at red cows and white cows, and what happens when you have a red cow, you breed it with a white cow, you get a red and white cow. That is codominance. We looked at incomplete dominance, of how when you take a red flower and a white flower, you get pink flowers. That is the blending of two traits. And then, Malik, we started looking at what are called sex-linked traits, and the fact that because genetic males only have one of each sex chromosome, if a recessive trait shows up on either one of those chromosomes, they definitely are going to get it, where genetic women, females, because they have two X chromosomes, have a failsafe. Exactly. There is a chance, a reasonable chance, that the dominant, not screwed up expression of that gene will override any sort of genetic issues there. And the example that I was about to give you yesterday, Soham and Namrit, was red-green color blindness. Now, there are a bunch of different types of color blindness. I don't know which, I can't speak to all of the types, but we are going to talk about red-green color blindness specifically. Mr. Keeley, can you tell the difference between these two pictures?
They're black and white, so yes.
So if they're black and white, that means, in fact, you are colorblind, Mr. Keeley. It has nothing to do with the fact that the photocopier is not in color. There it is. So this is what the picture should look like. You guys, out of a color printer, this is what it should look like. This is photocopied. And I showed you this picture yesterday. I said, this is what a person with normal vision will see. This is what someone who is red-green colorblind would see. And dogs do seem to be red-green colorblind, yes. Well, bees can see ultraviolet. I don't even know what that means, for example. So yeah, there are different colors, there are different perceptions that certain animals have that we don't have, and we have no way of even knowing what that means. Is if I came up to you, Josiah, and I told you that there was a color named Gorp that was somewhere between purple and green, and it's this weird shade of Gorp, and I can see it and you can't, you would have nothing. You would have no way of comprehending what that would even look like, because you don't have, it's not like me telling you, oh, just go, and then I introduce you to something that does exist and you see it in a picture in a book. Like, it's like being told, like bees and tortoises seeing in the ultraviolet spectrum. We have no concept, no possible concept for what that could be. There are other animals that have different, so like, if you don't know how your vision works, and we're not going to get into it in great detail, but there are things in your eyes called rods, Luca, rods and cones. And the existence of rods and cones gives you the vision that you have. There are animals that are missing one or the other, so we assume that that means they cannot perceive what, if the dog's missing cones, for example, they only have rods in their eyes, that means we assume that they can only see what we can see with our cones. if they're missing the rods. There is a third structure that exists in some animals, which means there is a third unknown perceptive thing that they could presumably see that we have no concept for what that could even possibly be. For so many reasons that wouldn't work. Malik.
Isn't there like something that like brown is like multiple different colors, but our eyes are really like completely different, like other things like waves and stuff?
I think it's purple doesn't exist. Purple is a figment of your brain's imagination. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it's purple. Purple is your brain filling in for a lack of something.
Doesn't your brain always fill in?
It's why you can't see your nose. Until you look at your nose, your brain filters it out.
Yeah,
like when I'm looking at you, but if I look now I can see my nose. My nose is in front of Q in his backpack, but I can look past my nose and see the backpack. It's your brain can censor or censors out things. It's like when you can't find your keys, but they're sitting on your desk. Your brain's filtering it out because it's used to seeing it. Your brain does all sorts of cool stuff.
Isn't it true that if your brain realizes like you have eyes, it attacks it? I keep hearing that. Yeah.
What?
Like if your brain if your brain like realizes you have eyes, it attacks it.
No. Your brain can't attack anything. Your brain's just there.
I know what she's trying to say, but I don't know.
Then say it better. Okay, while they're trying to figure that out, let me see you had a question. We'll come back to you, Vikram. You're going to have to talk way louder than that. Be louder. Michael, Himparis, Harbir, Memphis, and Elijah, just because Elijah's there too. Whichever of the 5 of you is so loud, the other 4 of you, shut that person down. I cannot hear Lamise. Which parent do what? Do females get their what from? Height is always a blend of traits. Yes.
Why is my mic so my head? I'm sure if I'm like really tall. You're not. How does that work?
Vikram. Are you guys talking about your immune system? Okay, research it and then talk. Because I do know, like, you're... No, I have no idea what you're trying to say. Because your eyes have a blood source. So...
When your eyes realize that you have eyes, it's not a conscious realization. A human awake human understanding. The process of light detection,
so, like, I mean, you can't see. It doesn't. It causes there is a cognitive dissonance that shows up because how do you perceive what you are? We see things, we feel them, all your senses, right? And so I think part of what you're talking about is like you have all of us do top line. You have your optical receptors are at the back of your eye, and so your eyes cannot see themselves. You can see the reflection of your eye, obviously, but generally speaking, you can't see yourself, so you don't know that like there's a liquid in your eye. We don't necessarily perceive that until something's wrong with it. Everyone has a blind spot where the optic nerve actually attaches to the back of your eye, but your brain fills in that missing information with the information of what's going on around it, so you don't perceive that blind spot. You don't perceive the surface of your eye until there's something on the surface of your eye. So this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But I will give you the example, and then we're going to talk about this. When I got my laser eye surgery done, near the beginning of my career, I got laser eye surgery. because now I'm working full time, and all of a sudden I can afford stuff, and I didn't want contacts anymore. When you get laser eye surgery, they like clamp your eyes open, so you can't close them, because if you close your eye while the laser's on there, then you got a problem. And then they say stare, and then the laser goes and it blasts your eye. Now, when the laser, effectively what it's doing is burning the surface of your eye, it's burning the cornea. And so I was lying there, looking up at the laser, which you're not supposed to do. Look at lasers generally, but this was a good laser. And my eye got cloudy because the surface of my eye got burnt. I don't feel that. There's no pain receptors in the surface of the eye like that. I mean, there's numbing like they did on my eye, but it's different. And then they squeegeed my eye, which was weird because they like all that burnt stuff. They put some eye drops and they like squeegeed it away. So for the first time, when those drops hit the surface of my eye and I could see the squeegee, what I was seeing for the first time was how deep my eye actually was, which is weird because your receptors for vision are at the back of the eye. The squeegee was on the surface of my eyeball. And so for the first time, my eye had depth. And it was a weird thing to realize because you don't, unless you're regularly putting in contact lenses, but even then, as soon as the contact lens is in, you don't see it anymore. It's kind of like that where you're, but no, nothing's getting attacked. I don't know if that answers any questions. If it doesn't answer any questions, at this point, I'm going to say that's too bad and we're going to keep going. Vikram, quick question. They flip things. So if you're here's a question for you. If you're seeing everything right side up, I mean, seeing is more than just your eyes. It's a full body process, like not full body, but like your eyes, your optical nerve, how your brain interprets things. And so if at the end of the day, all of those things come together and you see things right side up, you're seeing things right side up. I mean, the left eye does talk to the right side of your brain. The right eye, actually, it's not even split that way. The left part of your left eye talks to the right side of your brain, and the left part of your right eye talks to the right side of your brain. But the right side of your left eye and the right side of your right eye talk to the left side of the brain. Things are complicated. But it is true that if you wore glasses that inverted your vision, eventually your brain would flip it to compensate. Because your brain would be aware that your perception of reality visually and your experience of reality physically are opposite. So your brain would flip that image. And then you take the goggles off and you have to get used to it again, and it would flip it back for you. So in a sense, yes. The short answer to the question is your brain is fully capable of doing that. Okay, bring it back here. Angel, wake up. And Josiah, stop singing. Josiah. The trait, ladies and gentlemen, for red, green, I'm just going to keep going. Let's just go. We have someone who is colorblind. Does anyone know someone who's colorblind? Josiah, you know someone who's colorblind? Who? Ryan is colorblind. Do you know if either one of Ryan's parents are colorblind? Well, Ryan's dad would have to. Oh, no, not necessarily. Yeah, Ryan's dad would also have to be colorblind. You don't know? Okay, so. Yes.
My great uncle. No, my great something like that.
Okay, someone real far distant. He was colorblind. No, that was a question. Like, so he is colorblind? Okay. In parts of all the color, what are the kind of? Okay.
So like, what is like? Are there like any colors that seem like colorblind, or they just black or white?
There's different kinds of colorblind.
What's the maximum colorblind?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Well, no, there's shades of gray. Red, green color blindness. I mean, you could argue that there is green here, but the red and green, they blend all the green. If there was blue, the blue would stand out, the yellow would stand out differently. but reds and oranges and stuff they would all be kinds of shaded together. So let's imagine someone in the other class. One of your classmates, grade 10 classmates, has a friend. Let's call your friend A. A. The letter A, not EH. Okay, and what we learned, one of the things that we learned about friend A is that allegedly, friend A's dad, we're going to go to the board over here, allegedly, friend A's dad is red-green colorblind. As far as one of your classmates was able to determine. So, here's what this means. Vikram, stop talking in bars. We have friend. A happens to be a girl. So A, oops, that doesn't work. Elijah, would you mind tossing this in the garbage for me? What a catch. A, who happens to be a girl, is herself not colorblind. But allegedly, her dad is. So, dad's up here, X, Y, and there's going to be a little lowercase b that we're going to toss there on his X chromosome because colorblindness is a recessive X-linked trait. So, she's not colorblind, but she would have gotten X gene from dad because dad is responsible for determining gender. Dad gives X, you're a girl. Dad gives Y, you're a boy. So she's a girl. She would have gotten dad's only X chromosome. So she absolutely has the recessive trait here. She herself is not colorblind, allegedly. So what trait does this X chromosome have to have? The dominant normal vision trait, which we will call big B. Normal vision. This person happens to be, allegedly, A happens to be an only child. So we don't know enough about the total population of offspring to make any sort of determination about A's mom, other than the fact that A's mom has to have at least one capital B, because A got it. But A's mom could have had a lowercase b here, and A just lucked out 50-50. We don't know. We need to have some more girls in this family to figure this out. And if A is your guys' age, I seriously doubt there's going to be any more children born to that mother. Because I don't know who would want a 16-year-old child and a newborn baby. It's happened, but I wouldn't recommend it. So we have no idea what this one is. So let's take A. This has to be A's genotype for color blindness specifically. And let's take A, and A may one day decide that A wants to have children of their own. If that's true, let's figure this out. So A, here's A. A is heterozygous. And A might meet and decide to have children with someone with normal vision. So this person here is A's normal vision future partner. That normal vision future partner has to have this genetic code. Yes, Vikram? Too recessive? It's going to happen, yes. Yes. Okay, so let's take a look at what's happening here. Let's say that A and A's future normal vision partner decide to have a boatload of kids. 4, specifically, which is a lot. Sounds like a lot. 4 sounds like a lot to me. I only have 2. I can't imagine having 2 more. With 2, I already get the names mixed up. Like you, Jack, Tashi, figure it out. So, I mean, I only have 2. Never mind more than that. How many do you have?
3 others.
So there we go.
My friends have 4 siblings.
That's a lot. Then did you even remember the middle one's names? Like, the middle ones all blur together. I know you're the oldest. I know you're the youngest. There's 3 in the middle somewhere. Yeah. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We know A is heterozygous. What this means is A is a carrier, but doesn't have the color blindness. A is a carrier, but doesn't have color blindness. Now A starts having boatloads of kids. No, put the scissors away. He doesn't get scissors right now. Yeah, he can figure out threads later. He's distracting everyone at that table. A, let's say one of A's children shows up like this, XB. What 2 things can you tell me about this child? Capital B is normal vision. 2 things you can tell me about this child. Go. Regular vision and a girl. I mean, that's a pretty low bar. As far as you guys have told me, that's all of the girls in this class. All of you are XX with normal vision, apparently. So that's you guys. That's a whole nother story. Okay, what can you tell me about this girl right here? Girl, is she going to be colorblind? No, she will not be colorblind, but she carries the gene. It doesn't matter which B comes first. If there's a capital B, it's the dominant trait. It will override it. Not colorblind, but a carrier, just like her mother. Top right, what can you tell me about this child? Boy, not colorblind. You betcha. Yes. The only colorblind child that A could have is a colorblind son. And that child, every child, has a 1 in 4 chance of being that colorblind son. The only way A could have a colorblind daughter is if A does what? Gets with a colorblind guy, yes. The only way that A could have a colorblind daughter is if that daughter inherits colorblindness from A's colorblind partner. So if A gets with someone who's colorblind, then one daughter will for sure be a carrier, one daughter will for sure be colorblind. The boys won't change. You could have a normal boy or a colorblind boy. So then you'd have a 50-50 chance of having a colorblind child. One of the 2 could be a girl, or the other one could be a boy. So if A got with someone who was also colorblind, it'd be 50% chance their child was colorblind, regardless of gender. So this paragraph down here is just everything that I just said. We're just going to fill it in. The mother is the carrier. This is A. A, the mother, is a carrier. Oh yeah, someone said they didn't like this green. We don't like that green. For the trait, because she has the recessive allele on one of her chromosomes, Luca and Dennis. The father is not color deficient because he does not carry the recessive allele. Notice the only offspring with color deficiency is a male. This trait is very rare in females, because even color blindness is pretty rare in guys. So you take a trait that's already rare in guys, and now you have to find a female who is a carrier or colorblind herself to have colorblind female children, it's rare, but more common in males. That is one example of a sex-linked recessive trait. You guys are going to look at another one today. Hands up if you've ever heard of the genetic disorder hemophilia. Hands up if you've ever heard of hemophilia. None of you? Okay, cool. I'm going to give it to you because none of you heard of it. Hemophilia is a disorder in which your blood cannot clot properly. So like those of you, like for example, me, there it is. Can you see that finger? I smashed my finger. It bled. It scabbed. It hurts, but I'm not still bleeding. That's blood clot. My blood clotted normally, stopped me from bleeding out due to bashing my finger. Someone with hemophilia, their blood cannot clot as well, or in some extreme cases, not at all. So even the slightest damage could theoretically cause that person to bleed to death. Now, if you think of all of the things in you that are caused by bleeding, bruising even, bruising is just blood under the skin. It changes colors and then fades because the bleeding stops, and then your body just resorbs those blood vessels, or those vessels. That's what they will just bleed out internally. Like if I took a hammer and I smacked your hand, it would hurt. You would bruise, but you would get better. You take a hemophiliac, smack their hand with a hammer, they could theoretically bleed to death, even though nothing has been cut externally. Because your blood needs to be able to clot in order to prevent you from bleeding out. And hemophilia is an X-linked recessive trait. So it affects males more than it affects females. And especially until recently, even as recently as like the early 1900s, hands up if you've ever heard of Rasputin, Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen, yada, yada, yada. That Russian queen had a son, early 1900s, so this is like 100 years ago. That son had hemophilia. Son died. Because even as recent as 100 years ago, there was no treatment. You can't treat it. It's just there. Yes. More than there was 100 years ago. So it is less likely that someone would die. Because you can give people medications that will cause them to clot. You can force clotting on a bleed. Basically, yeah. Before the advent of some of these medications, you just put them in a bubble and hope for the best, yeah. So you're going to look at hemophilia today. That's going to be that's the sex-linked trait that I have questions for. So what I want you to do is I'd like you to start here. I have found some interesting things, and this will be the rest of class. You got about a half an hour till the bell. You're going to start here with Punnett Squared practice packet. These first 3 questions have the exact same genotypes for the parents. All 3 are the same. You've got a red flower and a white flower. What you're going to do is you're going to look for the phenotypes of what happens when a red gets with a white and it's completely dominant, like proper dominance like we've looked at. What happens if a red gets with a white and it's incompletely dominant? What happens if a red gets with a white and they're co-dominant? You're going to see something interesting about the genotypes, and you're going to see something interesting about the phenotypes. Then flip the page. You're going to do the same thing there with these questions. There's 3 questions there. Snapdragons, horses, and Palomino horses. Okay, guys, pay attention here, real quick. I want you to see what I'm assigning for homework. A snapdragon's a flower. Then I want you to flip the page, and you guys are going to look at blood types. Hands up if you know your blood type. Himparis, what is it? Okay, cool. We're not going to talk about the positivity and negativity part, so just type A. Himparis is A. Me too. Go us. Harbir, you're AB. So AB means blood is codominant. It means you have A and B. Himparis and I are both A means we have only A, or we have AO. Vikram? Sorry? You are O. You're also O. Okay, cool. Which means you can donate to anybody. They like you, but you can only receive blood from an O. That's a bummer. So you're going to take a look at blood. You do some reading, answer some questions. The next page has more blood questions. This is part of homework 2. If you flip the page again, you're going to see this thing here. Soham Malik, take a look at the screen, please. It says Punnett Square Worksheet. This is a 2-sided blank page that just has empty Punnett squares on it. If you want to use this for, instead of drawing your own, you can feel free to use these. Additionally, what I'd like you to do is after the Punnett Square page, I'd like you to flip 2 more pages, and you're going to come to a page here called Sex-Linked Traits. In addition to those first couple pages, I would also like you to flip up to here and take a look at the sex-linked pages. This is 1 page, both sides. But a bunch of it's review of stuff we've already done. You can get this done in the time you have left if you're not going to, be distracted easily by the people sitting with you. Josiah, I will hand out the quizzes before you guys leave. The quizzes that I already gave you yours back and then took it back. The quizzes have already written by everyone who wasn't writing a math quiz during tutorial.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? No. I'm going to give them back to you on Monday because Memphis is going to come at lunch on Monday to write the quiz. I'll tell you the grades. You have your homework, get to work on your market set, go.